You know what's so important in life? It's health and wellness. That's what I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to talk about a specific aspect of wellness. You see, when you go to learn about this, there's plenty of content online, and I found this visual. I think it's really great. Some people are going to say there's 8 aspects of wellness. This here shows 6 of them. We're going to focus on one of them. We're going to focus on physical wellness in this discussion. Please let me know if there's something like specific you're looking for, because that's what I'd like to bring to the discussion. I want to make sure I'm making impact and bringing value to you. But today we're going to discuss this topic with a certain approach that I believe to be the best way to think about physical wellness and the most appropriate way to communicate the different ideas within the physical wellness topic so that you could find this discussion useful no matter where you are in your journey. So, let me give you an overview. The approach we're going to take is one where we ask questions. We're going to start with why to make sure we all find this topic meaningful. Then we're going to ask how. How do we achieve physical wellness? Then we can get real specific about what exactly you should do for yourself. Some of the things we will discuss today are ideas that you may have already learned of before. My intent is to deepen your awareness by holding a discussion that helps you keep the ideas top of mind, organized in a way that boosts your focus and empowers you to take action on improving your own physical wellness. You should be clear about where you are in your journey as of right now. Determine your priorities for making changes. Identify what challenges you find yourself facing and be able to commit to resolving your challenges in the way that feels best to you. This approach should help us communicate with each other all the ideas within physical wellness using the same language so that we can be of support to each other, building a culture amongst ourselves that deems physical wellness very important in life. Believe it or not, there's nothing brand new that I need to introduce today in order to make this discussion that impactful. I imagine that you've already known what it takes to improve or maintain your physical well being. It just comes down to choices. There might be some knowledge gaps to fill, and we can certainly do that. But I think it's the way we think about it and the way we talk about health and wellness that makes the difference in our choices. So that's why we're taking this approach. The understanding that we each have about physical wellness should be one that allows us to use the same framework to improving each of our own physical wellness, despite the differences in specific goals that we each may set for ourselves. So let's jump in here and let's ask why. Why talk about physical wellness? Why think about it? Why do I think it's so important? Why should it be so important to you? And it comes down to the simple answer of quality of life, right? And I think you can define what that means to you. Go ahead and drop in the comments for me what that would mean to you. And you have to lay that out with details according to your story in life. But what that breaks down to is a few different categories. And that's what I have in these circles here is you with physical wellness, if you're thinking about feeling great, the way you feel is going to determine your quality of life. But also, physical wellness is about living long, right? If you have a good life by feeling great, you want to have as much of that life as possible. And so, the longer life, the more of that feeling good and the happiness that you're going to experience. Not to mention that we have loved ones who want us around as well. So we want to be around for our loved ones, and that's a big reason to pursue physical wellness. But another reason too is to look good. And I know that we don't always want to pay attention to the superficial things, but it's hard not to, and we want to look good. And I think all these things are connected, and you've heard it many times. Like when you look good, you feel good, right? So you can see how some of these things are very connected. And and I think when at the end of the day, you're doing physical wellness, maybe mostly because you want to feel great, um, but in the big picture, you understand that you want a long, healthy life because that's what life's about. But a good bonus is that you look good. When you have physical wellness in your life or you make that important, you look healthy. You just look good. I think it's in our human nature that what looks good is what is healthy and well. Okay. Now, if that makes sense, the next question that we can ask is how. So then, how do you do that, right? If and I think it's really simple. It breaks down into these things. So I'm just going to read them real quick, and then let's have a little talk on that because the way you do it is pretty much been known for years, decades, and it's number one, you need to move your body. Number two, you've got to feed your body. So what you eat will determine physical wellness, big time. Number three is rest. You have to rest your body. So giving time to just shut off. And then number four is you have to care for your body. So beyond just moving and eating and resting, there are other things to do to care for your body that will boost your physical wellness, right? Now, now on the last page, what I was showing there was why it's important. And I think that if you understand that inherently, then there really is no need for any more discussion. Sometimes you may be telling yourself um, that 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 you don't see why it's that important. Okay, sometimes you genuinely don't understand it, so we'd have to spend a little more time discussing why it's important. But I think most people do inherently see that to be true. That physical wellness gives you a better quality of life. Okay, and so what I was mentioning when I was first introducing the topic was that I think it's our choices, not so much a knowledge gap. Although some knowledge gaps do exist and filling those will help you on your journey, I think that managing our choices is what's going to make the biggest difference, right? But but if you inherently do understand why it's important to pursue your physical wellness, then most of what we have to do is answer the question of how. Okay? And I think that many people already see this to be true, what I'm showing on the screen. Why? Because the information is out there and it's being pushed big time. So remember, what I want to do is just provide a framework. So if I can give a simple structure like this and just one word to each of these things, then I think it'd be easy for you to remember and think about, and we can move forward in the discussion, right? For those of you that you think you inherently do not understand why it's important to pursue physical wellness, then I think the way that you spend more time pursuing physical wellness is first just understanding what it is to feel great. And sometimes you need that experience of what it is to feel great when you have some wellness. Sometimes you might have to take yourself back to a time when you felt great because you were physically healthier. Um, it, I think sometimes you think you don't find you sometimes you're thinking that it's hard for you to make the right choices because you don't think it's that important and other things need to be prioritized first, but you probably mistaken. Okay, there are some cases where yes, you have not understood. And these are extreme cases. And typically, this becomes a medical issue when you truly don't, genuinely don't see why it's important to pursue your physical wellness. But sometimes you're telling yourself that it's better to prioritize other things, and you're just mistaken. You're just mistaken. And spending a little bit of time asking yourself why it's important is going to do the biggest difference for you. So if that's you, just make a note that you need to get to that, and that's the homework for you. If not, then we're going to proceed with the discussion, understanding that it's just 1, 2, 3, and 4. That is how you do it. That is how you achieve physical wellness. One thing um, that I have to remind us is that the details are going to vary, right? And so there's so much instruction, so much advice out there that is much more detailed than what I have here on the screen. But all that other advice, right, which is helpful, which is what we do need to talk about a little bit today, and if you'd like to discuss more than what we have time for today, then it would be very relevant to get into the details on each of these four. But but what I want to remind us is that we're each on our own journey, and we need to interpret within the story of our own life how we work on each of these four. Okay, so I'm going to have to raise the question about the challenge, right? If you can interpret for yourself where the challenges are, then you're already steps ahead, right? But the main problem is that at times other things that also make us feel good seem like a better choice, right? That's what it comes down to. What is the problem? If we can understand how to pursue physical wellness, what becomes the problem? And I've summed it up this way, is that we do choose to prioritize other things that take us away from physical wellness. But we do so because these other things also make us feel good. And when you think about each of those four things, like moving your body and eating good food, healthier food, you can start to think to yourself that some things may move you away from making the right choices in those areas because other things also make you feel good. So when you think about, when we go back to the idea of why you should pursue physical wellness, one of the biggest reasons is because it's going to make you feel great. Well, if something else makes you also feel great, then you're going to feel like, well, I don't need to get that through physical wellness. Okay. And so that is one thing that we can also correct mentally, but it's going to take more than just hearing that right now. And it's going to take more than just reflecting to yourself, but you do need to be reflecting and you do need to be reminding yourself why it's important to pursue your physical wellness. Because when you run into the problem, you need to be able to recognize like you're at a crossroads, right? And what may be a habit is what is you subconsciously making a choice to move away from your wellness. And so, speaking on the habits, sometimes to address this, you're going to have to tap into the emotional health and what's going on there, right? And we can dive into that in a different conversation. But I think if you can understand that this is the problem, what will start happening is that you will recognize when you hit those forks in the road and you can say, okay, I have a choice to make. Sometimes it's just being aware that you do have a choice to make. As humans, we want to make choices easier. So if we have shortcuts or we have, habits it's kind of how we work, right? If we have something that we're used to doing, something more familiar, it's easier to do. It's easier to make a choice to go that route. So typically, we don't even see that we have a choice. But if you can recognize that you do have a choice, then you can make the conscious decision. If you are consciously deciding to move away from your wellness, but you do see it very important, you know exactly what you're supposed to do, but you choose not to, then you will have to work that out with your own conscience. And with enough working that out, with enough of that conversation with your own conscience, um, eventually you make the right habits. Right. So we can ask, what is physical wellness? Because now we're thinking about where we will find all those crossroads. And after today, I hope that you start to recognize where some of those things are if you haven't already. But what I want to share now is how I answer this question. What is physical wellness? I think most importantly, right, we should agree. And if we don't, let's debate about it in a different conversation. That physical wellness is a journey. It's not a destination. So it's not like you just do enough and then you achieve it and you're good. You don't have to think about it or work on it anymore, but it's a journey. And I think one of the beautiful things is that there's no perfect, right? If you believe there's a perfect, let me know. But if you see it the same way as me, let me know in the comments, right? There's no perfect. It's a journey. It's not necessarily a destination. So we can't point to a specific place, a specific time, a specific set of circumstances where physical wellness exists. I know that it's helpful when we try to do that. And that is actually what most of the advice out there is about. Pointing to a destination and saying, when you are there, you are at physical wellness. But if we believe this to be true, then that statement would be absurd. So I just want to remind us that we should agree that it's a journey and not a destination. And really quick, to make it simple, because there's a whole conversation to be had about why this is true and why it's better to believe this. But to make it simple, it's because two people can be healthy and have great physical wellness, look very different, do very different things, have a very different life. I know in the medical field, they might be want to put some type of objective definition, but in reality, they're just setting parameters. And so long as you meet the parameters, they will consider you healthy. Now, that as a destination means once you reach within those parameters, you maintain your health within those parameters, then you're good. You have wellness. But for those of us who are pretty deep in the journey, we can tell you that we always look for further growth and we always look for more wellness. And so the parameters that the medical field will give us is not enough to keep this journey going. And what will happen is when you stagnate on this front of physical wellness, you no longer feel good. You might feel like you have wellness, but you want more. Very interesting thing. The more that you have, the more you realize how important it is in your life. The more you focus on it, the more you can prioritize it. And then you just want to get deeper and understand how you can achieve more. So, so I think when you break it down, when you break down all the advice out there, or when you think about all the specifics that people are putting, they're just talking about energy and vitality, number one, and defining what that looks like. But we're also talking about preventing disease and illness. So your body is designed to work in a certain way, but nature just allows for stuff to break down or stuff to go the wrong way. And so having wellness means that you can prevent the breakdown of happening. And that's what disease is when the body's not working how it's actually designed to. But the other thing is thinking about physical wellness as the body's economy. And so, for those of you that are more economically inclined, meaning like you think in terms of economy, you like efficiency, you like thinking ROI, this is what this is the perspective that you should adopt. Your body's economy. The more physical wellness you have, the stronger the economy in your body. The stronger the economy in your body, the more you can do with your body. Right? What you do for your body actually has a direct effect, huge direct effect, and it's a multiplier effect on what you can do to the outside world around you. Another way that it's been put is to say that physical wellness is getting the most out of your day without undue fatigue or physical stress. So when you think about everything that you do in a single day, you can, if you wanted to quantify it, you can quantify it, but even without putting numbers to it, just think about everything you do in any given day. Think about your easy days, but think about your tough days. And that's actually a lot of energy to use. It's actually a lot to do with your body. Now, some of us work sitting down for most of the day, right? And you feel like, okay, I'm using most of mental energy rather than physical energy. But that use of mental energy takes a toll on you. If you feel what it does to you physically, exerting mental energy, then you can make the connection there. Okay. This is a good way to think about what is physical wellness because this will have you becoming more aware of what your body's telling you. So, for example, for example, towards the end of your day, or maybe in the middle of your day, you might feel like I need some rest. Rest can be like I need to take a nap, like sleepiness hit kicks in, and you're like, okay, I need to rest. I need to sleep. Sometimes it's like I just need to sit down because I'm moving around on my feet too much. Sometimes it's like I need to take my brain off of doing productive things and I need to do something passive. I need to do something that is more just about bringing joy into my life, right? And when you go through that, I want you to pay attention to what the body's telling you because and the brain is telling you, right, like mostly through feelings, is that it's telling you you need some rest. And what is the body telling you at the same time? What is the body telling you at the same time? Now, when you have physical wellness, the feeling that you're getting in the mind that you need rest will correlate with the body telling you that you need physical activity. It's a very interesting thing that happens there. But when you get the most out of your day, you never actually run out of physical energy. You still need rest. Your body might call for rest, but you actually don't run out of the energy. If you ever believe that you do, it's actually just a mental thing. It's actually just a perspective that your mind has adopted due to some lack in physical wellness. Now, I don't want to sound too crazy here, right? And I'm an advocate for mental health. But on this topic with physical wellness, we want to reach that point where you can get the most out of your day. How do you know when you got the most? Well, you never really know because there is no maximum. You can always get more and more from your day. Does that mean you are able to sleep less the more physically healthy you are? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. It doesn't mean you need less rest necessarily. It just means that you can get more from your day. How does that make sense? Well, let's talk about it more in another conversation. Now, the last thing I want to talk about here before we table this for another day is targeting, right? You do need to have some targets. And so if you've set goals for your physical health before, then you're already steps ahead. But for each of the four things, moving your body, eating, resting, and caring for your body, you should have some type of targets. And what I want to make clear is that you should have something that is kind of like a minimum, right? There's the idea that you have enough. As I was talking about this earlier, it physical wellness is not the destination, but we should articulate destinations just to know where we are on a path, right? So if the journey is like this never-ending path, it doesn't mean you're not on a path, but you're on a path. And to know where you are, you do have to point out specific places in time, specific sets of circumstances. And so what I'm saying is that you need to know what is enough. Who determines what is enough? Well, if we want to think more objectively, we go to the experts, and they will tell you what is enough of moving your body, what is enough of eating healthy, what is enough rest, what are the minimum that you should do for caring for your body outside of the other three areas. But beyond just thinking about what is enough and trying to maintain minimums, you should also think about what is thriving, right? What is the next level? Or if I could make a transformation, not just to the next level, but I can reach multiple levels above where I am now, what would that look like? When you can think that way, then you can set these more ambitious targets. And what's important about having both is that you need to apply some type of pressure that makes it urgent for you to prioritize the right choices towards your wellness. And that's going to come from setting these minimums for yourself. And everyone's minimums is going to look differently. Okay, if you want to go to the objective sources, then we're going to point out, okay, this is how much you should be exercising in a day. If you already exercise, like you set aside time to do exercise at least once a week, then you're off to a good start. You have a minimum to work with. When you look at different sources, they're going to say, do cardio exercise like 2 times a week, do weightlifting because you need to have strength, 2 to 3 times a week. They're gonna kind of break it down that way, right? And so you can follow that and make that a minimum target and maintain that. If you're not there yet, then you need to break it down into something that's very accessible. So when you're setting minimum targets, you need to make it accessible to you, something that you know you can do, and then you do it consistently, no matter what else is going on in your life. So you need the minimum to give you that pressure, but you also need like a thrive goal. You need something that is hard, a stretch. You need something that is hard to get to because you need to apply a different type of pressure. But this pressure is not the same. This pressure is not like hey, you're going to hold a gun to your head, but you should kind of put that pressure on you with the minimum. What I'm talking about when you have a thrive goal is I'm talking about you having the motivation come from something more positive. You having the motivation coming from like, what are the possibilities in life? So the idea that you could in fact achieve something starts there. You just telling yourself that that is a target and I'm going to move towards that. I don't think I'm going to get there tomorrow and I don't think I'm going to get there next week. It may take months and it may take years. The more ambitious the target, the longer it might take to reach that point. You need to have that type of targeting. You need to think in that way as well because when life gets hard, it's easy to put this stuff on the sidelines. what's going to bring you back and be excited to move yourself forward with your physical wellness is going to be about the possibilities in life. Whether it be you want to feel great, you want to live long, or whether it be that you want to look